Hey, this is Spencer. I also call myself Skinny Dinner. It's my game developer slash comic artist name. So this is a making of video of my most recent and first mobile game, Out of Bounds, or OutO'Bounds. I'm not really sure. So, it's this little game. You got this little planet and two goals on opposite sides, and you just play soccer on it. That's pretty much it, and it's physics based. And I came up with the name Out of Bounds, like pretty much when I first came up with the idea, and I thought of the O with the apostrophe just because it looks like the game itself, where you have the planet and the apostrophe is like a ball going around. Every time I've ever typed it, it gets underlined in red, so it's probably not even correct. My first idea for this game, I played a lot of foosball in high school, and I thought it'd be interesting to have something like that, but in something you couldn't recreate in real life, and the idea was to have it on a miniature planet where it can orbit around if you hit it too hard, and even if you don't hit it too hard, it still just goes around the planet. It allows for some interesting situations that would not occur on a flat plane like most soccer games are played on. So the first idea was the screen would be divided into two sections. One would control one team, the other would control the other team, so you could make it like one of those kind of multiplayer games where it's multiplayer but both players are playing on the same phone. So one person would use their finger to move multiple characters at a time around to move the ball where they want, and vice versa for the other side. Eventually I just didn't really like that idea. It was kind of weird. I don't even have any footage for it. I didn't even have a screen recorder on my phone when I was making that. And the second attempt got really into it, or right about when COVID hit. I was pretty much just spending all my time either playing on a Minecraft server with my friends or working on this new version of the game. So it's just a little character that you control with a joystick, and at first it was like this little ragdoll character. There was a bit of problems with the ragdoll that I wanted to eventually have a ragdoll kind of thing going, but I couldn't really figure out at first, and I wanted to focus on the gameplay more. Once I got the controls working, or at least working enough, I got to work on some AIs. It's not, you probably can't even call it an AI. It's really just code that says move this thing to this other thing in a circular motion, and just makes it look how the player looks. After I got the AIs working a little bit, I got a point system working, so it would detect the ball going inside the little transparent holes. And then I guess one day I was just really bored, and I was messing with some ragdoll mechanics, and then I just made this sausage link, and I just had the idea to make the goal shoot out a bunch of sausage links when you make a goal. I didn't keep that. That was just some random thing I put on Twitter. Like, I don't know. I think that the prefab is still in the file that you install from Google Play now, to be honest. I'm not really sure, but yeah. Then I got work on some timers, because soccer doesn't even work like you just keep getting points until you get to 10. Foosball table works that way, but real soccer is like on a time limit, and whoever has the most points by the end is the winner, and then it can also go into overtime, so I made that work. And I also thought, since the game was on a sphere, maybe you could have more than two teams, so I got that kind of working, got 5 teams going, all different colors and just different names. And then I got some toggles working. Most of these toggles were already in Unity. I just changed how they looked. Then I also made a hue toggle, but then I also made a whole color menu where you could change the hue, saturation, and value instead of just choosing like preset colors like Rocket League or other games like that. I always wanted this game to have a toon shader, but I didn't know really how to make one, so I just bought one from the Unity asset store. I'll put a link to that in the description. I messed around with the shaders a bit more. I also added some grass just to have some point of reference when you're moving around if there's only 2 teams. I wanted it to be possible for there to only be 2 teams, even though there was 5 teams at a time. After the toon shader and grass, I got some clouds working. The first version of the clouds, they just kind of sat there. They weren't even transparent. It stood out kind of like a sore thumb. But then I made them a bit more transparent and made them vary in size a bit more, and I also made some move, so they all moved around the poles of the planet at different speeds, which definitely made it look a lot more atmospheric and natural. Eventually, I decided I wanted to make the game landscape instead of portrait, because I wanted there to be a kick button, because up to this point, all you had to do to kick the ball was touch it, and it would just like fly away from you. But I wanted there to be a bit more of a believable physical reaction, so even though I didn't get that working right away, I did change the game to landscape screen instead of portrait. I realized this also made my phone a lot more comfortable to hold, because portrait games, even though they're nice to be able to just hold in one hand, it's definitely a much more comfortable gaming experience when it's just landscape. Wanting the planet to fit more with the clouds, I also added a bit of a little grass animation. This is a more exaggerated look, but just showing what I was experimenting with. It was around this point I also got into the music of the game. I installed this app called Fruity Loop Studio on my phone. It was like $16. Honestly, it's so worth it. It's so easy to make music on that. And then I just made this little track. I also added some other sound effects. I also found this thing on GitHub to add an outline to Unity's legacy text. I could have been using Unity's TextMesh Pro, but honestly, I don't know. It's just more complicated than I really cared to deal with, so I just used the legacy text because it's pretty simple. But I couldn't find a way to get an outline on that, so I just got this simple outline script. This outline script also works on images, which I didn't use in this game, but I'm using for some other things. At this point, I was less into the development of the game, and it was more into just experimenting with different ways I could make the game look. So on St. Patrick's Day, I made this map where instead of grass, I had 4-leaf clovers and I had a rainbow in the background. And then for Easter, I made one of the team's bunnies and the other's team chicks, and the bunnies had little floppy ears, and the ball was like an egg shape, which honestly just made the game really annoying to play, but it was still funny. I also made a map based around Star Wars where one team is Jedis and has Yoda with little floppy ears and a lightsaber, and the other team is Sith with Darth Vader, and he's also got a lightsaber. And then the planet is like the Death Star, and the ball is a little droid, and the background is like space with stars and stuff. And I also made a Stranger Things map around the time that Stranger Things Season 4 came out. So one team is Hawkins, and the player is 11, and she's got like some blood dripping out of her nose. She's got a little pink dress. And then the other team is the Upside Down, and the player is the Demogorgon with his like big spiky flower face. And then the ball is like a waffle stack, but it has like a circular collider still. And then when you go past the equator of the planet, it changes the pitch of the music and also the lighting of it to make it look like the Upside Down. It was at this point that a mobile advertising company called Yoda One reached out to me, and they wanted to help me monetize my game and put ads in it. So not wanting to have any problems with like copyright or anything because of monetization, I just removed all the extra levels and just left it with the one customizable scene where, you know, you just have the two teams and you can just change their name and their color. I also did a lot of work on the physics after this. The physics were kind of just like really inconsistent. At some points it would just add velocity, at other points it would actually add force, and you know, it was still just like shooting the ball off of you. So I got the kick button to just add a bunch of torque, but then also have a bunch of drag so you don't like spiral out of control, and instead of it just bouncing off of you, it actually uses force to hit the ball, which I honestly ended up really liking because it just looks a lot more physically pleasing. And I also made this whole sprite sheet of a bunch of icons, and then I also had the music track redone. As much as I liked my first version, I didn't think it vibed with the atmosphere of the game so much, so I still kept the same melody, but then I had my friend Repronunciation make his own version of the track. Link to him in the description. I put it in the game and also used it in the trailer. I should link to that in the description too. A bit after that, I say a bit, but it was like, yeah, it was a bit. A bit after that, I released the game to Google Play. It was on that before, but it was a beta version. I couldn't even figure out how to make it officially released until like 2 weeks before I recorded this. Now it's on Google Play. It's all polished. It's still kind of crap, but I'm just happy it's over because I have a lot of other ideas I'd rather work on. I'm happy with how it is. I took way too long on this game. I learned a lot lot, but I'm happy it's over. I honestly have no idea if I'll ever make any more videos on this channel. This might be the only video I ever put on it. Maybe I'll put some trailers on it. Maybe I'll put all devlogs of all kinds of other games. Maybe I'll become a YouTuber. I don't know. Hopefully I don't become a YouTuber. I definitely want to just stick to game development. It's definitely more of what I want to do. But if you like this video, which I doubt you did because it's my first and it's probably the crappiest video I've ever made. If you liked it, then click the, I shouldn't have to tell you. Yeah, and yeah, maybe you could subscribe too. That'd be cool.